Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. How's it going? Hopefully, you are doing super duper well. It is your humblest of hosts, Soul Expression, and we are here for another. Let me make sure my audio is coming through. Yes, it is. We are here for another episode of The Inner Storyteller. Please remember, guys, if you are here, then you are here and you are in for real conversations. Here we talk about natural law, talk about religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the great. We talk about money, anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated in many different ways by forces that do not have our best interests at heart. And we are not bashing faith systems on this channel. We do not call people names like dumb or whatever for having and subscribing to a religion. We are simply examining the psychological cause and effect of the stories we have the most faith in, the ones we have the most stake in. And we're looking at examining how those stories shape society. And that examination sits right alongside an honest look at the current human condition. Said current human condition is slavery. Government is slavery. Always has been, always will be, as long as it exists. And the question we have to keep coming back to is what can truly be improved with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works. And of course, if any of that makes you uneasy, makes you a little angry, scared, or uncomfortable in any way, please be assured and reassured that although you are 1000% encouraged to stay good people, you are, of course, welcome to exit. You are welcome to leave as soon as you like the video. You are not allowed to leave without liking the video. Guys, please like the video. Like it, subscribe to the channels. Um, really, really appreciate it. First of all, it would let me know that you do indeed enjoy the content, but also since I am an up and comer with not a lot of a following at all, it helps boost my videos, right? It helps trigger the mechanical, technological, digital. Um, I'm trying not to say algorithm, but it triggers the algorithm. Okay, triggers the algorithm. So please like the video. Please subscribe to the channels. Please comment more than 6 words per comment. And let me know what you think about today's topic. As you can see, big and bold on the screen with my new black background with the white geometric little lines that look so cool. We are here to talk about the energy behind the story. The energy behind the story. Okay, and we are going to use the word energy not in a, why is this over here? I do not understand. Not in a way that, one second, guys. I just have to move something. Oh, put this here, this in here. There we go. And then we back. Okay. We are going to use the word energy in a way that speaks to our actions that we take, right? The things that we pay attention to, the things that we invest time in, the things that we do with our hands, the words that we say with our mouths and type with our fingers, or whatever we type with these days. That is what we are, calling energy. The work that we do as a human society. And this topic is going to span across the the major aspects of modern human life. Okay? This is not going to be a show where all that we pay attention to is just this niche thing over here. We will have plenty of episodes like that, but this one is very broad stroke, broad sweeping, brush. We're going to touch on everything. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And for these, I wanted to, yeah. You see, I'm learning. I'm learning things. Okay, learning things. Today's episode is a personal one. Not personal in the sense that I'm sharing things. There we go. Not personal in the sense that I'm sharing something from my private life. Of course not. Personal in the sense that what I'm about to describe requires you to take an honest inventory of yourself. Not only the systems that control us, not only the government, not only the people you disagree with that seem to have a level of influence or control, yourself. Okay? So we going to get personal in this rap battle. Because the argument I want to make today is not that the system is powerful. We've established that across many episodes already. We're on episode 31, good people. Episode 31. No. The argument today is about what the system actually runs on. And the answer is going to require some honesty that a lot of people do not want to sit with, unfortunately. Symbols shape everything. Before thought, which is conscious thought, arrives. Before we talk about money, energy, and coercion, I want to share something that may be a little unexpected. Let's start today's episode with an examination of the letter A. I love the letter A. You know who else loves the letter A? Gracie from Gracie's Corner. A is a symbol. It carries meaning. And once the symbol A, the letter, has been repeated enough times in enough consistent contexts, the inner storyteller stops experiencing it as a mark on the page and it becomes an automatic understanding. Invisible in its operation, immediate in its effect, you no longer see A and then look at A and decide what it means or what you're going to do with it. You see the letter A and meaning arrives instantly. Whether it's the letter A by itself or it's the letter A within words, um, or it's the letter A as an actual picture, as an, an actual like piece of art. Somebody used the letter A in a creative way. You know A instantly. The meaning is not decided on, thought about, refined, or anything like that. It's automatic, it's faster than your conscious thought, and is so deeply embedded that you also know when something is wrong with somebody else's use of the letter A. That is efficiency on 100,000 million. That's beyond efficiency. Okay? But it's also conditioning, which for the letter A is fine. It's fine to be conditioned to automatically know what that symbol means and what kind of meanings it carries and automatically move past it when you see it so that you can get to the actual sentence or the actual whatever is going on. Right? I'm not saying conditioning as a negative, but it is conditioning. It does condition the mind to automatically respond to the letter A in specific ways. Because once meaning, becomes automatic, it begins to feel unquestionable. And that, good people, is where both civilization and confusion quietly mesh together. And I really want to kind of stress this a little bit. The letter A or any letter is a symbol, right? It symbolizes a sound as well as many different meanings in various, depending on the context, it gives a meaning. Sometimes you see it and you hear or understand the long A sound or the long A application, sometimes the short A. Either way, you don't think about, decide on, or do anything with it except respond the way you always have to its presence unless someone is using it wrong. And when someone is using it wrong, okay, you defend the correct use. You use the story of what you've associated A with in your inner storyteller, in your mind, to defend A and its proper usage, its proper place in the world of symbols, right? Now, let's scale that up a little bit. Not to another letter, but to a concept. Let's scale up the letter A and our automatic, or not even automatic, automated, okay, our automated response triggers to the letter A and all of its uses and all of its placings. Scale that up to the word or concept government, or the word or concept money, or the word or concept authority or law. The moment those symbols enter the room, the nervous system responds automatically before thought notices anything has happened, before your conscious mind is paying attention to anything at all. You know and are responding to how you feel about the government official or the government team of costumed government representatives coming in a room, right? The body contracts or complies, the inner storyteller filing the meaning that was installed long before you had language to examine it happens at the speed of thought, which is, again, faster than the speed of light, exponentially faster. And because the processing feels automatic, because it feels like reality rather than just interpretation, because of how deeply the symbol of government is impressed into the human being, most people never ask who taught them what those symbols actually mean. And part 9 of my book, The Inner Storyteller, puts it this way. Once meaning feels automatic, it also begins to feel unquestionable. And that is where both civilization and confusion mesh together. That's pretty funny that I wrote that there after writing it in the other place. I don't notice things sometimes that I do, and I don't double check enough. Anyway, that is where civilization and confusion begin to mesh. Okay? Once meaning feels automatic, it also begins to feel unquestionable. The entire financial and governmental architecture we are going to examine runs on this very mechanism, the automatic responses, right? It doesn't run on logic, not on genuine consent, but on the automatic meaning assignment of a population whose inner storyteller was shaped to recognize and respond to the symbol way before it had tools to examine what was being installed. And the first point that I'm going to make is that our energy is the real currency. Money is not the foundation of the economic system. Did you think money was the foundation of the economic system? Well, if you did, you were wrong, but you still made some sense. And we're going to talk about what the actual foundation is. And if it's, excuse me, and if it's not money, what do you think it is? That's what that comment section is for. What do you think the actual foundation of any economic system in the world, in the past or present, is? I say the foundation of the economic system is the story told about that foundation. The foundation, for real, is energy. Okay? Human energy is the foundation of the economic system. Human energy is directed by the inner storyteller. But human energy, labor, attention, emotional investment, right, care, um, the hours of a life directed toward a specific purpose or specific purposes, that is the foundation of any economic system. Okay, the willingness to show up and produce or comply or consume, to participate in some way in a project of some kind. That's the energy. And our energy is the foundation of all money systems. Or excuse me, all economic systems. Pardon. Money is the accounting system built on top of that energy. It is the mechanism by which human energy is measured, stored, transferred, redirected towards purposes the person generating said energy definitely had no say in, did not choose, and may not even understand. Right? A corporation's market value is not a measure, pardon me, of physical assets. It is a measure of collective belief that the human energy directed towards this corporation will continue to flow. I wonder if I should explain that in very elementary terms before moving on in my notes. A corporation's market value is a measure of the collective belief that the human energy directed towards that project will continue to flow. We are the money. Okay? Our actions provide the maintenance and the varied illusions of the projects we participate in and engage with. Without our participation, without our actions, without our engagements, the project has no market value whatsoever. Even if the project was to build something and a few people got together and they cared about it and they built it and it actually got built, it has no market value, similar to, a used pen with no ink in it. It has no market value, even though it exists and is right there. Because money is not built, or money systems, right? Monetary value is not connected to anything physical. The moment that the belief falters, the moment that the story about the corporation's value changes, the accounting numbers change with it. The energy was always the real thing. The number was always just a part, a symbol within the story about the energy coming from us and the energy coming from, the founders, the owners, the inventors, the people that are executing the project. And the monetary value story allows the energy to be extracted and concentrated in ways that would that would be immediately refused if people could see just just what was actual just what was actually being traded. I know I just burped directly into the mic. It's cuz I'm a rude little SOB sometimes and I really don't think about these things until after they happen. But I apologize and I hope that that was a funny little moment for you after I admitted to doing it, even if it was a little nasty before I admitted to doing it. All right. Now, we have a problem. We have a problem because I think we can all recognize the unreality of money. I think we can all recognize plainly, without effort, by the way, the what's the right word for it? The illusory nature and coercion behind economic systems built on religion, right? Belief system and religion can be interchanged, right? So economic systems built only on belief systems or religion that have no foundational connection to nature is not something that most people would choose to be the central point of all of their decisions. But money, as it exists and how we use it today, is the centralized, you know, um, context through which we make all of our decisions, especially major decisions. We think about the money first, even though it's not real, never has been. And so we have a willing participation problem because we can understand the unreality of it and we can still treat it as life or death. In fact, kill over it every single day. People die over money. And it's very sad. In the first line in this part of my script says, here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. The system does not primarily run on coercion. Coercion exists. It is real. But coercion in the most advanced societies and the affluent parts of the world, coercion is the backup mechanism. It's the backup for when everything else fails. But the primary engine of the systems of control is willing participation, enthusiastic participation. People happily sending their energy towards the system's purposes with full zest and zeal, defending it, optimizing within it, and measuring our self-worth by its metrics. The person who works 70 hours a week to make someone else's company profitable is not being held at gunpoint necessarily. The person who, takes on the debt to purchase things that signal status within the system that they may even claim to reject, that person is not being coerced in the same way that a bully saying, give me all your lunch money, is coercing another student. The person who invests their retirement savings in a financial instrument managed by the same institutional actors that we've defined on this channel that are caught year after year after year doing and enabling evil, that person is participating in the systems willingly. Okay? And the system knows this, or the system heads, the manipulators and sorcerers at the top of the food chain, they know this. They know this intimately. They designed the system around this dynamic of human consciousness. In fact, another point from part 9, chapter 9 of my book, describes exactly what produces our willing participation. I say in the book, quote, symbols shape perception. Perception shapes choice. Choice shapes systems. The inner storyteller has been conditioned through school, through institutional religions, through manufactured culture, and the like, to direct its energy toward systems whose purposes and systems who benefit from the direct suppression of the population's degree of freedom. And I say suppression, I mean slow elimination of the experience of freedom from their populations. Right? And on top of that, the inner storyteller has been conditioned to see and experience the willing participation in the system's purposes as freedom, to associate participation in the American dream, if you will, as freedom, as normal, as something to look forward to, as a privilege, or as simply what responsible adults are supposed to do, right? Which is silly. It's silly when we put it in plain language for a reason. Okay? That is the genius of it. Coercion coercion is expensive for these people. Okay? Expensive. But willing participation causes financial benefits, and financial benefits means to them power benefits that you couldn't even imagine. You couldn't even imagine. There are single families in this world that may not have on paper, and even like their many trusts may not have on paper a total amount of over $1 trillion that they control. But there are, trust and believe, if you do enough research, reading, and talk to enough people that know these people or know of them and have looked into them and whatnot and witnessed articles and whatnot deleted from the internet, right? Watched the suppression of this information. There are families, singular families. They might be large families, but there's one family, families that control hundreds of billions, and some, and I'm using the word control lightly here, control trillions of dollars at a time. Now, there we go. Social proof. Social proof as moral consensus is always wrong, right? If it's popular, it's right, right? The mechanism that stabilizes willing participation is social proof. The inner storyteller has a sorting rule that operates below conscious examination. The more people that agree with something, the more right that something appears to be to other people. The more people there are agreeing with something, the more right that something appears. And popularity gets sorted into the um, proven drawer, right? Things that are popular are proven true because of their popularity. We have phrases in English that's, everybody knows that. It's probably a phrase in all languages, but regardless, everybody knows that. Everybody knows. Everybody knows gravity makes us fall down instead of up. Everybody knows, right? Magnetism has nothing to do with it. It's gravity, right? Or whatever the example. The inner storyteller has like a rule for its sorting that operates below conscious examination. The more popularity, pardon me, gets sorted as true and proven, and consensus gets sorted as safe. And then once they're sorted, just like the letter A, it's automated. Your response to someone talking about something that's popular, right? Rap music is black music. We're just gonna believe that, right? Um, Rap music, as the record companies dictate what rap music is, that's black people shit, right? And we're just supposed to believe that. Go with that. I do not believe that, even though it started with black people. A whole lot of stuff started with black people. Don't make it exclusive. And it definitely just doesn't make the mainstream depiction of said thing an attribute of that people's culture. You know, the camera, I'm doing stuff with my hands. The camera's like, "Oh, what do you want? What do you want, sir? No problem." Um, so consensus is sorted into the safe drawer. Popularity is sorted into the true and proven drawer. To put it plainly, that's not rational. It's not rational thought dictating that. That's just the sorting function of your mind doing what it was conditioned to do, what it was designed to do. And it means the authority of the financial and governmental institutions is not primarily maintained by logical validity. It's maintained by perception, automated responses to phenomena, automated responses to thoughts, automated responses to thoughts about thoughts. It's maintained by the perception that everyone else is also behind the idea that authority of financial and governmental institutions is legit. That compliance or enablement should be normalized, right? That's what they say. That compliance is normal and should be normalized. Or they may say that the person who opts out is the strange one. The person who goes the opposite direction is the one who we should look at as suspicious. Coercion is the backup mechanism because social proof is usually sufficient enough to create a state of obedience in the population that you need it in. Basically, convince enough people that it's right or that they like it, and you don't have to do the coercion part for the most part. When enough people stop participating in the coercive mechanisms, when enough people stop participating in the project, the coercive mechanisms activate just to restore the appearance of consensus. But as long as social proof holds, as long as we can look outside and see that everyone is still following those rules, the coercion stays hidden in reserve, right? It's there on paper for anyone to find if they look for it, but it is out of sight, out of mind, so to speak. And what makes this worse is what part 10 of the book identifies as the battle between impression and principle. Impressions are very fast, they're emotional. Impressions are conditioned, impressed into the human being, they're socially reinforced. There, turned my head that time. And that time that I burped. Impressions arrive first. And because they arrive first, most people mistake impressions for truth. Right? And it's not just because they arrive first, it's because the inner storyteller has sorted what gets impressed upon us enough times with enough consistent context as all automatically seen as true. And not only true, but reality, seen as reality. Right? Right? Like wearing a shirt in public or wearing pants, I should say, like wearing pants in public, like wearing something to cover up your sexual reproductive organs in public. Okay? That's not thought about in the way that we think about what color do I want to wear or something, right? But principle is different. Okay? Principle is slow, steady. Principle is quiet while impressions are very loud in the mind. Principle is quiet, never more than a whisper. Principle is less flattering to the ego. It doesn't arrive with the force of panic or the thrill of outrage. Principle waits. It waits underneath all of that, present, still, patient. And the social proof mechanism sometimes ensures that impressions almost always win over principles in moments of decision, especially when there's pressure. Okay? Because impression is what everyone around you is always acting on at all times. Now, on the left, you see men, and they might have, that I can't tell what that third one is on the far left. But anyway, you see people created by AI at the barbecue. The person closest to the middle line, can you stop moving? The person closest to the middle line who's laughing, with his mouth open, you can see him kind of the most clearly around the grill. He is supposed to be the same person as the one on the right. You can see the one on the right says tax return due today, April 15th. On the left, they're at a barbecue. The person at the barbecue who may, joking around with his friends, have the sentiment, say the sentiment, oh, what government? Fuck the government. Nobody cares about them. They have been corrupt since corruption was a thing, and they don't. I don't listen to them. Right? Just talking with the guys, having a good time, sharing your real thoughts, what you would choose if you actually could, or if you actually felt that you could, I should say, because you can. Where the person who says "fuck the government" at the barbecue sees um, tax returns are due. They often change their tune, right? The one who nods along when someone describes the corruption or the surveillance state or the extortion or the abuse of power of government. Stop moving. Thank you. Talking to it like it's a human. uh, when they nod along to the people pointing out what's wrong with the government and what's wrong with all governments, because all of them have very similar problems, just like all humans have very similar problems to solve. And who laughs and agrees and says, "Yeah, I'm not even paying my taxes this year." And yeah, I'm not I have the right to travel, right? And all of that. There's also excuse me, is also the person who is sad and angry when they get the letter from the IRS that says, "Hey, this is due by April 15th." Due, right? It's the same person who shows back up to work with his Monday morning. There are plenty of police officers who talk badly about police in general, and then they show up to work Monday morning and don't snitch on who needs to be snitched on in their own departments. They participate in the consumption economy with genuine enthusiasm when it suits them and their wants and desires at the time. It's the same person who measures success by the metrics that the system defined and who sends their energy, their labor, their attention, their compliance, their enthusiasm, their zeal. They send their energy toward the system's purposes every single day. And it's the same person joking at the barbecue with the fellas or with the gals or both, that the system is corrupt, needs to change, and that they don't like it and they don't want it and they didn't choose it. And they don't know why something isn't done about it, ironically. And the inner storyteller manages that without producing cognitive dissonance, the feeling of cognitive dissonance, because the verbal dissent and the behavioral compliance live in completely separate drawers, right? Oops. Live in completely separate drawers. The dissent goes into the venting drawer. Oh, I'm just venting. I got to get this off my chest. The compliance goes into the responsibility drawer. The what you just do drawer. The you better or it's worse off for you in the long run drawer. And those two drawers are far away from each other in the office of your inner storyteller. Part 9 of the book names the goal precisely as the alignment between what we say we value, what we actually practice, and what systems we unconsciously reinforce through our inaction. That alignment requires something most people spend their entire lives avoiding, which is the honest recognition that something already knows we are doing something wrong. Something already knows, acknowledges, and is ready to talk about and ready to act on the knowledge that we are doing something wrong. Us, the 99%, the ones who did not ask for, do not deserve, and did not choose the abuse going on, but enable it, remain obedient to it, and choose it over physical death. Not as guilt, not dramatically, but in the simple, undeniable way that truth makes itself felt when we are out of alignment. Something in us already knew we were willfully, in, with an informed, you know, position, participating through our choices in our own enslavement. And that choice included non action, silence, acquiescence, apathy, delay, uh, decision fatigue, and analysis paralysis. We like to talk too much about the problem. Now, the scene at the barbecue, the laughter at the barbecue, is evidence of that knowing. The fact that we can all agree, we can all shut out a sigh of relief when someone at the front of the room says, and by the way, we all know that the government is corrupt. The reason why we all kind of laugh, giggle, and sigh at comments like that is evidence of that knowing. You don't joke about something when there's no truth anywhere about it. The joke is the signal. The question is what we're going to do with it. Where does your energy go? You know, the final battle is not out there, right? Part 10 of the book puts this in terms that I want to bring directly into this episode because it names what we're actually talking about more precisely. Final battle is between impression and principle. Impression, again, is what presses itself into the inner storyteller and drives our automated responses. It's fast, it's inherited, conditioned, socially reinforced with repetition and propaganda, and usually shaped by fear. Whereas principle is what is recognized, what is chosen, what is not automatic, and what is lived in conscious alignment with truth. Thereby, it is slower, quieter, still, and more costly. More costly in a world of liars, thieves, and sinners of all kinds. Okay, to use a biblical term. It often asks something of you that your impressions would rather avoid. Principle. And what I talk about in part 10 is what it looks like to lose that battle, to have impressions win. Losing that battle looks like living by whatever presses on you the hardest: fear, propaganda, approval, titles, uniforms, urgency, symbols. It looks like confusing human conditioning for human nature. It looks like participating in schemes you know are wrong and calling that participation your duty to the world. It looks like handing your authorship over to the systems that never loved you and would never author you as an equal to them or to it. Them because there are people, actual people in families that run the system, but it because we're talking about the system. And that is the honest description of what willing participation in the extraction economy looks like from the inside. Not necessarily evil people doing evil things for evil's sake, right? But conditioned people running impressed stories, handing their energy to purposes and agendas that were assigned to them before they had language to ask who assigned it to them, why, and what do you get out of it. So, what does change actually require? Let's get into it. Most conversations about the system stop where I just left off. They identify the problem, they name the extraction, they point at the corruption, they point even at our participation, and then crickets, silence. Because the next step requires something genuinely difficult. Even for me, even for my mentors and teachers, it's very difficult to withdraw energy from what you're used to automatically pouring your energy into. Okay? Not It's not that difficult to do a single act of defiance. It's not that difficult to perform a dramatic gesture. But the consistent, daily, practiced redirection of your actual energy, your labor, your attention, your compliance, your investment, your addiction to the monetary system, moving your energy away from purposes that these purposes that you didn't choose, and toward purposes that are aligned with your genuine goals, that is not, that is so far from easy. You really got to study addiction and how addiction works to understand how difficult it is to live a life, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of a life, realize that you're wrong, that you're in the wrong, and then realize almost every aspect of your life is tied to the wrongdoing that you're doing in the world, and then trying to change it and be, you know, like try to change it in a significant enough way. That is a very, very difficult task. And so there's nothing in my podcast that's gonna go, it's gonna say, and we're taking too long. It just is what it is. It's not an easy thing to do. What do we need? Well, let's talk about it. Food forests, community gardens are a good start. Collaborative homeschooling networks, neighborhood learning ecosystems, right? What does it look like practically? These are not aesthetic hobbies or utopian decoration for the imagination. That rhymed on purpose. They are practical signs of orientation. When ordinary people participate directly in their own food supply, their own children's education, their own community's basic functions, something tends to shift inside the collective inner storyteller. Scarcity stories soften. Helplessness stories weaken. The distance between survival and personal agency becomes smaller and more visible. The goal is not some sort of self sufficiency. The goal is alignment with truth. Very simple, right? Alignment of what we say we value, what we actually practice, and what systems we reinforce through our actions and inactions. If you remember, a couple episodes ago, we talked very thoroughly and very completely through the notion, the idea that work and knowledge are the only two real ingredients for anything to manifest. Work and knowledge. Not money, not permission, not the not the system's approval. If enough people directed their actual energy toward building genuine community, genuine local economy, genuine knowledge transmission, genuine moral development, above all else, then the story about the system's indispensability would begin to lose its substrate. Meaning, the narrative that says the system is needed because human beings are bad without it, are worse off without it, loses its grip on the mind. Because genuine, first of all, family dynamics, okay? Mom, dad, children, grandma, maybe, right? Genuine families, genuine local economy, genuine community. It takes a village, if you will, right? DeFi, um, nodes, uh, barters, genuine sharing, do voluntary work, doing things without expecting, because the earth that you were born through um, is always giving to you, right? So paying that forward by giving to other human beings or the animal kingdom, maybe, or the environment without expecting anything in return, genuine sharing. Um, and genuine, again, above all else, genuine moral development. And that really has to come first, good people, right? Before we get really good at genuine local economy, genuine community, genuine knowledge transmission, and uh, decentralizing information away from academia and into the hands of whoever has it and can distribute it. Before any of that, the full implementation of objective morality, right? Practiced right action in our daily lives has to not only come first, but maintain its number one seat as the first principle. And until it does, we really cannot even move forward in trying to reform or create our own economies and communities and decentralized information channels. Because if it's a bunch of immoral people who give in to any temptation that they have as soon as they can, for most people, as soon as they can and they feel like they won't get caught, give in to the slightest temptations, then, well, we're just doomed. We're just as doomed as we were under this system, because that's the issue, is the immorality. Not just of the order giver class. Yes, they are hella immoral, but the immorality of the order follower class who give them all of their power. Right? The system cannot run on coercion alone. It never has been able to do that. Only in small localized spaces can the system run on straight coercion. And that's why the inner storyteller work is not optimal for anyone serious about genuine freedom. You cannot withdraw your energy from a story you haven't examined. Okay? So again, system does not run on coercion alone. It can't. And that's why the inner storyteller work is not optimal for anyone serious about genuine freedom. Did I say optimal twice? It's not optional. Not optional for anyone serious about genuine freedom. I love my brain at the end of these episodes. Anyway, you cannot withdraw your energy from a story that you have not examined. You cannot redirect what you don't know is being redirected. The examination has to come first. That is the work. Not the comfortable, yeah, not the comfortable version. Okay? The version that requires you to sit with the gap between what you say at the barbecue and what you do come April 15th. And we have to ask honestly which one really reflects the story worth living. Christ not only sacrificed his life, but he also sacrificed all of his comfort in the name of showing people how to respond to these systems. Christ battled against religion, he battled against the usury, and he battled against government. And he won. Even though they, in the story, even though they killed his body, he came right back. They cannot win against absolute truth. Okay, and whether you take Christ's story to be an allegory for astrotheism of some kind, um, uh, that's beyond. I'm not here to tell you which religion has the true God or which religion talks about God in the most accurate way. That's for you to decide. Okay, I'm here to serve truth. I did it again, didn't I? Anyway, what story are you going to live? What story are you going to choose to live, good people? That is the question of the hour. That is the question of my show. And I hope that you comment your answer to said question in the boom. Sorry. I'm like trying to put myself back in the middle here. No, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like it with the background. So very sorry. That is the question that I'm going to leave you with at the end of this episode. We are 1 hour in, pretty much right on the mark. We'll end at 101. Um, Today is Friday, so I will see you guys tomorrow for Saturday's episode. Thank you so very much for tuning in, and look forward to some more knowledge tomorrow. Peace and love.